Yes, all of this will fit on my bicycle. I'm here packing for the Tour Divide. It begins a week from today. 2,700 miles of mountain biking from Banff, Canada to the Mexican border in New Mexico. All across the Rocky Mountains, carrying all my camping gear, food, water, and bear spray. Yes, I'm going to drag this 68-year-old cancer-riddled, COVID-surviving body along the world's longest and toughest mountain bike race.
And here is that bicycle ride, the Tour Divide mountain biking race. Called a race, I won't be racing. I'm going to document as best I can through photographs, GoPro video, and drone video to hopefully inspire the cancer community. Anyway, it begins June 9, 6 days from today. Banff, Canada travels along the Continental Divide, otherwise known as the Rocky Mountains in the U.S., all the way to Mexico. It involves 2,700 miles of pedaling and 200,000 feet of climbing over those mountains. It's a self-supported bike packing adventure, meaning that all the participants carry their own camping gear and are not allowed support from anybody outside the race itself. And here's where I'm going to put all the gear and the steed upon which I will sit for those 2,700 miles, which will take me between 1 and 2 months, is my Salsa Cutthroat. So named for the cutthroat trout that's popular in Montana. You can see I've got bags galore on this bike. You can see a little tube coming up from one of those bags, connected to a water bladder at the bottom of that bag. Self-sufficient. The front wheel has a dynamo hub, a wire running up through that fork into the little bag on top of the bike, which contains a USB charging device. I will be on my own, self-sufficient, carrying a satellite communication device because many places I will not have access to cell service. And of course I will have my tunes and my audiobooks to entertain me out there in the wilds should I so need entertainment. My cancer hospital's recent social media post best tells my story. In early 2020, John Thomas received a diagnosis of prostate cancer, and in July, he underwent surgery to remove his prostate and 12 lymph nodes at Smilow Cancer Hospital. Not one to sit back, just 2 months later, he rode 100 miles in the Closer to Free ride, the annual fundraiser for Yale Cancer Center and Smilow Cancer Hospital. Just over a year later, in October 2021, after testing showed his PSA levels were elevated, John learned his cancer had returned and began external beam therapy 5 days a week for 8 weeks. Despite his surgery and radiation therapy, John has continued to cycle, accumulating more than 15,000 miles since his diagnosis. It's actually been 15,000 miles, including keeping his commitment to ride 100 miles annually in the Closer to Free ride. In just a few days, John will participate in the Tour Divide, the world's longest mountain bike route, which runs along the Continental Divide from Banff, Alberta, Canada, to New Mexico. The route includes 2,745 miles of ultra-endurance bike pack racing, in which participants must be self-supported, carry their own camping gear and food. John was originally scheduled to participate in 2022, but a near-death bicycling collision with a deer delayed his participation. So far this year, he has been training hard, cycling more than 3,000 miles and averaging 200 miles and 10,000 feet of climbing weekly. As a tune-up, he rode the Closer to Free 100-mile route last week, and he will ride another 100-miler before departing for Banff. John has documented his personal journey on his YouTube channel and keeps a blog with training updates on the Prostate Cancer Foundation website. As a prostate cancer survivor, writer, author, musician, cyclist, and law professor, John continues to live his life to his fullest and show what is possible for a cancer survivor. Now, a few words about that deer crash. Yes, indeed, I collided with a deer while training for last year's Tour Divide race. The result was a fraction of 18 bones and puncture in both of my lungs. Fortunately, an ambulance arrived just in time to provide me oxygen, get me to the hospital, to help me survive. And yes, indeed, I have memorialized that event by the depiction of the deer jumping over one of those fractured bones and landing on my shoulder. And yes, I documented that ambulance ride.
So, ambulance ride to the Yale New Haven emergency room. Got hit by a deer on my bicycle. With incredible professionals here helping me out. Looks like I might have a shoulder fracture. At the very least, a substantially bruised ego. There you have it. I'm going to document this here on this YouTube channel, elsewhere on Facebook, Instagram, and on my webpage on the Prostate Cancer Foundation website. Hope you can follow along. Hope you can get some inspiration. Arrivederci, ciao, adios.